I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but let's be honest, it is still very hard to read into your final 4 games of a Premier League season when you've wrapped the title up with those 4 games to spare. And I actually thought tonight against Brighton wasn't too bad an effort from Liverpool, despite the game ending in a 3-2 defeat. And the reason I say that, and I think it's backed up by statistics really, and also the eye test, is I thought it was kind of a fairly even game for the majority of it. I mean, you look at the shot count. Yes, Brighton take 25 shots, which is absolutely remarkable. But Liverpool themselves manage 18. The expected goals ends 2.34 for Brighton, but 2.11 for Liverpool, so very close there. And then you look at the big chances, 2 for Brighton and 3 for Liverpool. So that suggests really that it was a relatively even game this evening. But the difference between the two sides, and the reason I think there was a winner in this one, that Brighton were just utterly determined to take something from the game. I know certain convoluted things have to happen for this to be the case, but there is a possibility that 8th place will qualify for Europe and the Europa Conference League, and obviously so Brighton are in with a chance of that, and this was a big win for them in that regard. And I mean, you could see that in terms of the performance. They really did want to get something from it. You look at Hinshaw Wood's celebration when he scores what ends up being the winner. He's really hugely into it. You see at full time, the manager Herzler again celebrating with his second in command, and again how much it meant to them, and it was really an important game for them. And then you contrast that to Liverpool, who basically have spent the build up to this game on holiday in Dubai, or in the case of the manager in Ibiza, they've had 3 days training, but only because by virtue of the fact that it's a Monday game, so they came in back on Friday and then trained Saturday and Sunday to prepare themselves for this. And ultimately, it does matter, that difference, because Brighton in the meantime have been kind of straining every sinew, doing everything they can to get a result here, and ultimately, it tells that Liverpool haven't been doing that and they haven't been working as hard towards it. And also, when it comes to those tight moments of the game where you really have to battle, that motivation isn't quite there for Liverpool, and it definitely was for Brighton. I understand that some Liverpool fans will maybe say, well, why is that the case? You should want to win every game. You should want to finish this season on a high. But for me, I kind of look at it differently, really, is that because Liverpool have pulled off such a remarkable achievement in winning the Premier League with so many games to spare, really, they've given themselves here 4 games that don't matter, 4 games that they're not even a pre-season, because that you're trying to learn a little bit more about the next season in those. You're trying to get fitness. They're not even trying to do that really, although there have been a few kind of tactical experiments in there. They just don't have an awful lot of motivation, and I think what the manager's doing in giving them so much time off, so many times to go on holiday, to get away from Liverpool and really rest and relax, is because he isn't thinking about this season anymore. The trophy's already secured. The big day is coming on Sunday, isn't it, when they will lift the title. He's already thinking about what can kind of happen next season and what shape his team is going to be in once that next season comes around. Because let's not forget, these players get absolutely flogged over 9 months of the season. From start to finish, they have to play in 4 competitions. They have to push really hard in all of them. They barely get a rest. It's midweek weekend. Even, you throw in your League Cup games, yes, where a few of them get a rest, but it's pretty much relentless. And then so many of them go away on internationals as well. They do not get a minute to rest, and that can cause injuries, it can cause fatigue, it can cause dips in form throughout a season. And so I think a really smart way of using these 4 weeks is to say, well, you're going to go on a holiday at the end of this, but maybe try and squeeze in a couple of holidays before then. Just try and lie on a sun lounger and not think about any of this, because it doesn't matter. And I really do think that Liverpool will reap the rewards of this approach. Not in this end of the season, because the run of form is clearly turning quite poor, but I think they will reap it when next season starts up, because other teams have not got this luxury, have they? You think about Arsenal, they are really straining to make sure they get in the Champions League and have only done that with 1 game to spare to secure that second place. Manchester City have now got to go to the Club World Cup this summer, so they are going to come into next season absolutely knackered as well. So it could give Liverpool a little bit of an advantage that they have effectively started their holidays early, haven't they? And then they'll come back for that pre-season after an actual holiday, and they will be raring to get themselves ready for the new season. And they should have that freshness in that opening period. And if they can do what they did this time around, which is get themselves a huge lead and defend it, then that's not a bad way to win a Premier League title. So I do think the upsides of this run of form and the fact that they are getting so much rest in and maybe not doing as much preparation as you usually would, I think that's all there to be reaped next season. I think it is a smart move, and all the talk behind the scenes at Liverpool is that they want to have a crack at all 4 competitions properly next season, and if that is the aim, then getting your rest in now, readying yourself for that what will be a very, very long campaign, to me doesn't seem like such a bad idea. Now, say about the fact that these games don't mean much, but I do think there are some interesting points to take from them as well. I did hint at it earlier, saying about some of the tactical experimentation really from Arne Slot and a couple of things he's maybe trying out. And I thought one of those we saw today really was Dominik Szoboszlai in that slightly deeper midfield role. Obviously, we saw him all season really as the number 10. He's basically sometimes played as a number 9 up against who else is the centre forward there, but he's been moved into a slightly deeper role today, and I thought it was an interesting experiment that kind of mixed results maybe, I would say, but a lot of good in there, I thought. He started out with an unbelievable pass from deep for the first goal, didn't he? What a pick out to Mo Salah that was, that got Liverpool straight up the pitch, and he completes 4 passes into the final third, which is not too bad. And I also thought, on the defensive aspect, all that, all the work that we know he puts into that is probably much better used when he's in the thick of the action in that deeper position. Funnily enough, he wins 0 out of 4 tackles, which is low, but he usually does better in terms of winning more of those. But he wins 5 out of 10 ground duels as well. And like I said, he was just in the middle there where, I thought it really kind of made the most of the fact he's got a great engine really and can get about, but also he can make the most of the fact he's got that passing range from deep that can really get Liverpool on the front foot. And it maybe covers up the fact that when he is in that number 10 position, he's not, I think he gets too much stick for not bringing enough kind of end product, but he's not quite as delicate as your traditional number 10 in that position, is he? But if he's in more of a kind of deeper role, it covers that up, and like I say, you get to use all of his quality, which is still definitely there, and his ability to fire passes through. He can still shoot. I mean, he scores today, although I doubt he meant it, but he can still set goals up, he can still create chances from that deeper role and get up to support. But he doesn't have to act like an out-and-out kind of number 10 or even like a centre-forward at times, which I think is where you maybe see some of his weaknesses. So I thought it was an interesting choice to see him there, and maybe something that Arne Slot will consider moving into next season to, is it as part of his midfield rotation there? Can he use Szoboszlai in that deeper role rather than just thinking of him as an out-and-out number 10? And I was left to wonder actually whether the fact he used him in that role, is that thinking ahead to maybe a summer signing? Maybe he's trying to make room in that number 10 position for someone. I'm sure you've all seen those links to Florian Wirtz, and I've spoken about them myself, but it's just something worth thinking about, I thought. And I thought, yeah, not bad from Dominik Szoboszlai in that role. And somebody else who had an opportunity to play, which is unusual for them, is Harvey Elliott, who, I didn't think he took his chance in his last game that he got, which was at Chelsea, and I spoke about that at length really, and so this felt like another important game for him really to come in and get another chance. And I have to say, I thought he was much, much better tonight in terms of his performance. Obviously he gets a goal and assist, which is exactly what you want from your number 10. You want them to create, you want them to score, and he did both of those things. But I thought he was generally very good in his performance as well, just overall. I mean, 3 shots, 4 chances created. It's very, very good numbers for someone in that number 10 position. 88% of his passes completed as well, in arguably the tightest area of the pitch to do that. And he also wins 3 out of 6 ground duels, which is very, very good to see from him as well, because that is a mixture of take-ons and tackles, but it's a good kind of statistic, I think, in terms of your ability to win your battles, and that's something he's been criticised for in the past, so did well on that front too. And I know the questions will remain over him going into this summer. There is interest in there from a number of clubs, both on the continent and in England as well. And of course, he's 2 years left on his contract. He hasn't played very much. Those questions are going to persist, but I am a big advocate of just giving him at least 1 more year to see what happens. And I think he showed today there's a player there's somebody worth persisting with, and he is a Liverpool fan, he bleeds for the shirt, doesn't he? So I just don't want to see that written off, but we will have to see what happens in that summer. And I am joking about the Wirtz links there, but of course that would have an impact on Harvey Elliott's ability to get minutes. But of course, like I say, I want to see 1 more season of him, and I think he hasn't done his chances of getting that 1 more season any harm with his performance today. Now, unfortunately, can't quite say the same for Federico Chiesa. Real excitement in terms of seeing him on the starting 11 today. A lot of fans really, really eager to see him. But you have to say, he didn't really grasp his chance, did he? I mean, he's coming into the starting 11 in that central role where people have maybe wanted to see him, and he manages just 12 touches, 5 passes, 1 shot, and loses 7 out of 8 duels lost. Now, I don't want to be too harsh on Chiesa here or to be unfair, because look at it, he hasn't got any rhythm whatsoever. He's barely been used this season, and so to throw him into this game where he's kind of up against a team who've got everything to play for, they're absolutely motivated, he's got no rhythm, and he's expected to just drop into a Premier League game and show the best of himself. It wasn't really fair to maybe expect that from him, but it just comes within the context, doesn't it, of Slot saying in his press conference or in the breakout from the last press conference that, I can see an opportunity for Chiesa to have a future at Liverpool. He has to come in and grab these chances to show that's going to be the case. And ultimately, I really struggle to believe Arne Slot, because if an offer comes in for Chiesa this summer from an Italian club, which feels likely, are Liverpool really going to fight to keep in? And for Chiesa, he's got to want more than this, which is to be barely used throughout the season, and then when he does get thrown in, he's got no rhythm, he can't show the best of himself, and he isn't showing the best version of himself as a footballer whilst he's been at Liverpool. So all those factors considered together, it really is a struggle, despite what the manager said, for me to imagine Chiesa being at Liverpool coming into next season. But I will say, to kind of sign it off on a positive note, look, even if he does leave, I've said it many times, but he's very well regarded within the building at Liverpool, in terms of his work rate, his professionalism, and just as a character. Really liked by the other players and staff, and he will leave with a Premier League winners medal at the end of the day, and he's finally made a Premier League start as well. So even if he does leave, it won't be because he's disliked by anyone, or anyone will be glad to see him out the exit door. It does just seem to me like one of those moves that hasn't kind of quite worked out really. But as I say, he does leave as a Premier League winner, and I guess actually that is kind of the context of these last 4 games, is that it's not great. Nobody's particularly enjoying the losing, and there's certain aspects of it that you prefer to be better. But the overriding context is that Liverpool have won the Premier League, and they've done so with 4 games to go. And so you are going to get moments like this, and ultimately it doesn't really matter the results or the performances. It's all about getting ready for next season, where Liverpool will try to do it again. But of course, before that, the big day that comes on Sunday, when I will be at Anfield to see Liverpool take on Crystal Palace, who will also be in party mode, won't they? But it's all about that big trophy lift at the end for the Liverpool supporters. So certainly looking forward to that one. So do let me know what you thought about the talking points from this game, and your talking points in terms of the futures of some of these players as well. It's very, very interesting. Let me know how much you're looking forward to Sunday as well, because I certainly am. If you can drop me a like and a subscribe in the meantime, it'd be massively appreciated. And do subscribe as well, because you don't want to miss that on Sunday. It's going to be an absolutely magical day, and I have the privilege of being there, so very much looking forward to that. And I'll see you guys very soon.